How we doing, YouTube? Silverback here again for another couple gameplays. I didn't play that many games tonight, but I did go a solid 5-2. We lost to, let's see, I think we lost to two aggro decks that just kind of beat us out. But I don't really want to talk about the losses tonight. Today I kind of have a theme for our games, and that theme is resilience. I want to show how, by playing smart, Dimir Flash can come from behind, can outdraw and just outplay our competitors' decks. So you can take a look at the deck list. It was on the screen. That's exactly what I play and have been playing. But really, this deck can persevere as long as you don't panic. You got to be smart with everything. We can't usually afford to just chump block, just to chump block. We got to make sure that the blocks are in our favor, that the attacks are in our favor, that we play cards when it's smart to do so. And I think these games really reflect that. So if you're looking for a new deck to play after these bans went through, and you want a deck that's really challenging in several aspects. It's a challenging deck to play well. You have to really be a confident, thoughtful player to play it well. And if you want a deck that can win in a variety of ways, I think this is the deck for you. If you want a deck where you just slam cards and just win in a super aggro way, I don't think this deck is for you. So maybe just watch these few games and see what you think, and I'll see you for the first game. Alright, so this first game is against Arcadius. It's an unranked game. I usually start out by playing, a couple unranked games just to get into the flow of things and just to get started before I jump into ranked. It's just something I do. A pretty decent hand here. Faerie Vandal, Sea-Dasher is a good combo. Brazen Bower, so we can bounce any trouble that comes our way. And Blacklance, so we can beat out any aggression. And Didn't Say Please is also a good card. Now, 2-tap land from the opponent, so I decided to be the aggressor here. So we're going to do the old Faerie Vandal Sea-Dasher combo and hope that he lives to draw us a few cards here. Another land isn't bad. We would like another black source, but again, we can use all the blue that we can get. I'm not sure why. I guess he needs to stop me, so he plays a 1/1 Krasis. Seems like a little bit of a waste to me, but I'll gladly kill a small Krasis, then deal with a large one later. So we'll just pass the turn here. And feeling really good. Again, we can bounce anything. We have a counter spell. So I feel good about countering here because I want to draw a few more cards, get into that black source. Especially now that we got the Slitherwisp, we really want to see a black source, which we do not get. But man, do we have a ton of Brazen Bowers. So again, the Sea-Dasher combo is doing really good for us here. And our opponent plays Uro. We actually don't mind bouncing Uro here. Yes, they'll get the benefit of playing it and gaining 3 more life, but they also get that benefit every time they attack. So I'd much rather just bounce it here and not have to deal with it being on the board. Plus we can get through another 3 damage that way for a total of 7. Good draw here. This is what we were looking for. Get in for 7 damage and looking at 8 next turn. Really, we could be at lethal next turn. And to some extent, our opponent knows that. So he has to get rid of the Sea-Dasher Faerie Vandal which is fine. We're going to use that mana while we can to play out Slitherwisp. Wish we could play something else, but we just can't. So really at this point, I think he'll Uro next turn, but we can pretty much wrap up the game however we need to at this point. So he'll play Uro, he'll go up to 8, we can deal 8 damage, no problem. We just gotta play out the Brazen Borrower. If he does play some sort of removal, we're okay with that too. Now here he plays Extinction Event. I have 1 odd creature, 1 even creature. We need 8 damage, which we can ping him for. 2 damage, and then we have 2 even, 2 odds, everything at 3 power. So he's pretty much done for. Again, showing the resilience of the deck, showing that we have no problem finishing through board wipes and stuff like that. So let's get into the ranked games now. Alright, so this is the first ranked game that I played this evening. Unkeepable starting hand. This looks a little bit better. We'll talk through the first part of the game, and then I'll probably have to do some editing for the second part. So we'll see how it goes as I record over the gameplay now. The opponent was pretty slow to act through a lot of the game, so I apologize. Again, I'll definitely edit down towards the end. I might not commentate over it and just do the editing, but I'll at least commentate over the first part here. So 2 Cunning Nightbonders. It was an easy choice to get rid of 1. Could have got rid of the rewind, but I like the idea of having a counter. But we see that it's a fast-paced deck, and we draw another expensive counter spell. Here I plan on putting down Nightbonder and blocking our opponent's Fervent Champion, possibly eating a shock. But he'll go ahead and he'll play another champion, which makes our life really hard. Dealing with 2 of them is a pain. First strike and buffing each other is not easy to deal with for us, not in the early game. So we'll pass on. Again, Nightbonder might take a shock here, and that's okay. We do have a Didn't Say Pleased. Hopefully we can stack a block here. Excuse me. What I mean is, if I just block with a Nightbonder and a Paragon, one of them will die. Or they'll both die. We won't take any damage, but then we're bound to take 4 damage next turn. So ideally what I'd like to do is get both down, block both on 1. We'd still take 2, but one of them would die, and then we'd only be looking at 1 damage a turn. But again, our opponent plays something here that I can't let resolve. I have to counter it. We can't take 6 and then 4 damage. That'd take us down to... or 6 and then 2. That'd take us too far down. Unfortunately, though, we will have to eat 4 again as he lava coils. So it's a rough start here. And a Thieves Guild Enforcer is an okay draw. But we don't... Ideally, we'd have 2 black lands for what we got in hand, and we would still stack block. But we don't. So it looks like we're going to eat another 4 damage. Again, at this point, the panic's setting in, thinking about playing whatever to block, but, you know, it's just not smart. We lose everything at this point. So we're going to wait and see what our opponent does. We have a counter, and as silly as it sounds, we're going to counter Rimrock. Again, that would be game for all intents and purposes there. So a Cunning Nightbonder is really good here, because now we can play out 2 things. And our opponent's gonna make a mistake here that will that could have possibly cost them the game. So they'll block or they'll attack. We'll play out Nightbonder first because I actually want to get the Blacklance down second, and then hopefully save the Thieves Guild Enforcer. And to my surprise, both resolve. I thought for sure he'd have something in hand, but we go ahead and do the double block like we were going to do the first turn, or earlier in the game, I should say. And our opponent will not pump. He'll kill the Nightbonder and let us gain 3 life. So I'm not sure why he chose to do it like that, but he did. The not pumping makes sense all of a sudden. He was holding back so he could play Annex. Now we'll see our opponent play it safe. We'll try to get in with just the champion. And we're actually going to take this opportunity to flash in a Thieves Guild Enforcer and then a Nightbonder. He'll pump, which is fine. At this point, again, we have enough to double block with. Even if he were to remove something with the last card in hand. So this time our opponent, again, choosing to get rid of the Nightbonder. And now we can rewind and counter whatever he plays next. So we might actually be able to stabilize here. From the beginning, it looked like we weren't. We could have, again, panicked and threw down chump blockers. But that's not smart play. It really isn't. So our opponent will attack in with everything. We have to look out for the Embercleave. We don't mind losing stuff, wiping the board out. And here comes Embercleave. So rewind was right on time there. Another benefit we have that our opponent doesn't have, especially after this draw, and I will shock it in, believe it or not, because we have to use the benefit that we have, which is the Castle Embreth. No, that's what he has. We have the Castle Vantress. So even though he'll pump, he'll get rid of everything on both sides of our board here, but we can kind of sculpt our draws. So, like I said, we're going to take advantage of that, where he has to take whatever comes. We can make sure that we draw the gas that we need. And we'll draw a Brazen Bower, because if our opponent plays down a major threat, we can just bounce it. And this is where he really starts to rope. I mean, the rest of this game, it's about halfway done. I don't know if he feels like we lucked out and he should have won, and so he's gonna make us wait forever to get our victory or what. But he really starts to rope the heck out of us here, and we do get the victory. What I'll do is I'll edit it down. I'll take out all the roping. I won't commentate over it because it'll only be probably a minute worth of actual gameplay. And then I'll start commentating over the next game. But we do win through our resilience once again. It's a very resilient deck. We don't win in the flashiest way or the fanciest ways, but we do edge out wins with smart plays. So I'll shut up now and, like I said, edit down the end here and get to the next one. Alright, and this will be the last game that I show. It's going to be a shorter video than usual. But I didn't play that many games this evening. I didn't have much time. a slow mana hand, but luckily we don't have a turn 1 play, so really don't mind playing a tap land to start, even though our opponent's gonna get off to a fast start. Again, the theme of tonight's games, I guess, is resilience, because we really didn't blow anybody out. Realistically, our opponents probably should have won, or at least they feel like they should have won. But again, it doesn't matter how good you start, it's about how you end. So here at Blacklance, again, it's my most disposable creature. If he's holding removal, that's the one that's made to die anyway. Which he does have Grasp of Darkness, so that's the one thing Mono Black runs, a lot of removal and a lot of cheap, powerful creatures. So again, I'm thinking whether I need to shock or not, and I think we need to. Again, you might think, oh my goodness, he's going to get in for a ton and you're shocking yourself, but we have to be able to play a minimum of 2 creatures here, and there's a good chance that one of them's going to eat removal, so we will, ideally, if we can, we'll block the most damage, which will be the Black Lance. I was trying to get him to pump the Knight of the Eben Legion, and then I was going to drown in the Locket, but I actually thought about it, and I wanted to save the drown in the Loch in case he casted something like Spawn of Mayhem, and I wanted to counter that. So again, ideally I didn't want to take all that damage, but I didn't have much of a choice at that point. So again, here he goes straight for the attack. He's a good player. He attacks first and waits till his second main so that we can't react and we eat the damage again, because I can't let a huge thing resolve, and if he doesn't play a huge creature or something, then yeah, we look silly, but really we can't endear a Spawn of Mayhem. So here he's trying to put the game away by just flooding the board with everything. But he's also letting us know what we got to defend against. So we check. A Black Lance is a good draw. That's something that we really need at this point, so I put that to top. We need blockers desperately, and I'm going to wait and flash out stuff on his turn, because I don't want him to answer what we're about to do, because right now we could probably come out ahead on blocks by at least 1 creature, I'm thinking. So at this point I'm thinking he's got to have removal in hand, but I realize that he's being prompted for the Knight of the Eben Legion ability, but you really don't know that for sure. So we get everything out. That was a definite block there. I wanted to do the Nightbonder to Stone Coil, but of course that has Pro from Multicolor. So what this is going to let us do is completely wipe his side of the board and leave us with 1 threat. He does have a good follow-up play with the Rotting Regisaur, but we have a chump blocker in Faerie Vandal. We can also keep up Didn't Say Please. He has to discard his last card. Not sure what he draws just yet, but we have to chump, and we don't want to lose the one that we've already grown a bit. So we chump block, stay alive for another turn, and the opponent plays a Gutter Bones. Now that is a good draw. We can now counter whatever our opponent does and wipe his side of the board. And the opponent looks like he might have the demonic the Demonic Embrace. But he doesn't cast anything, and surprisingly he only attacks with Reggie. Again, I was thinking he had some sort of removal, but apparently he doesn't, so we will take that block, our 1 mana creature for his 3 mana creature. It's a good deal for us. And then he was holding a land, so now we need to sculpt our draws. And those 2 draws are good. We already had a counter spell in hand, so I thought we better keep Slitherwisp just in case we can play him this turn, which it turns out that we can't. But we had to counter Reggie. We didn't have another answer for him there. We milled a Demonic Embrace. Our opponent could eat the life and play him out, but we can also counter it with the Rewind and still play Wisp. So, but he actually drew one, which we gladly counter. And now this next draw will really determine what happens. If we can draw a flash creature, and we do, really it's going to be tough for our opponent to come back. Looking back, attacking with Faerie Vandal there wasn't a brilliant idea, because he could have, again, Demonic Embraced. But he chooses not to, and we'll gladly make him pay for that, and we'll actually be able to make our Blacklance survive to get in more damage. And then another Slitherwisp that's the cherry on the cake. So again, resilience, very resilient here. Get back up to 13 life. The Spawn of Mayhem isn't even a big deal right now because we can Slitherwisp. And then we have the Faerie Vandal that's big enough to kill the Spawn. But we're actually going to be a little aggressive and attack with the Vandal. Because we can chump block with Threnody Singer. Looking back, that was a little bit, I don't want to say a misplay, but you know, a risk that we probably shouldn't have taken, because he could Demonic Embrace on his Spawn of Mayhem and hit us for 8, and I believe the Spawn has Trample, so we'd have to take 5, but then he'd be dead anyway. So I'm thinking here he's figuring he has to play defensively. If he has removal, he might remove the Faerie Vandal. But really, if he doesn't have a chump blocker, game's over on his end, and he scoops it up. So this got us to gold tier 1. I'll see you here in a second for the wrap up. Alright, so as I said in the beginning, resilience really was the story of these games, and it's the story of a lot of the games that we play. We do blow some decks out, we do win in a landslide, it does happen, but we also win these games where maybe we shouldn't have. We win a lot of games that people might feel like was a loss and would have scooped too. We can hold out and win and persevere through our card draw. Again, we build in several ways to draw cards. With the Sea-Dasher Octopus, the Omen of the Sea, the Slitherwisp, and believe it or not, the Lochmere Serpent is also a form of card draw and life gain. And that comes into play sometimes. So through card draw, just through, you know, having really good value creatures that do things, that gain us life, that make our attacks and blocks better for us. You know, we're able to persevere in some games. Now, not always. Again, I said I lost 2 games. The first one was against a Winota deck that, you know, was able to really play down some good creatures, get ahead of us, and then play Winota, and just really outvalued us, no problem. Then we also lost to an Is It Spells deck where, you know, Thieves Guild Enforcer showed its weakness. We milled some some of the Phoenixes for our opponent, and he just had to opt a few times and get them out and beat us down. And that's the one thing about Thieves Guild Enforcer is there is a lot of people playing in their graveyard right now with Uros, with the Arclight Phoenixes, and other things. Sometimes we feel their wins. But again, you got to play your deck. You got to play your game. You got to be confident that more often than not, playing your game's is going to be a benefit to you and not a hindrance. And if you do think it's a hindrance, then don't play those cards. But I feel that Thieves Guild Enforcer, there's enough upside right now, and especially after rotation, that it's worth playing. So again, I hope these games showed the resilience of the deck. I'm going to try to feature other aspects of the deck throughout the week and show how we can win other ways. At least that's the idea. If I can't get the gameplay recorded, then I'll just show what I can show. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay and the video. Leave a comment, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know how you would build the deck, what you plan on playing in this post-ban meta. And I will hopefully see you in the next one. Later.